Welcome back to Good Morning Vail. Like I mentioned, Walking Mountains is here, and I always learn something when they come in, and you can too. We're going to learn a little bit about misconceptions of nature. We have Laura Robison here with us, and she's one of the naturalists at the Walking Mountains, and you have your campus right here in Avon.
Yeah.
You also have been doing your guided hikes and snowshoe tours out of the top of the Eagle Bond Gondola.
Yeah, and that's actually our last week for that this week.
Okay, yes,
To
because
go
Adventure
out
Ridge
of the
closes.
gondola, yeah.
All right, so take advantage of that. Free guided hiking and snowshoe tours, and we can learn a lot about nature out there. But you're going to let us know about some misconceptions of nature and things that maybe we learned as kids, or maybe they're just folklore. The first one has to do with the moon.
Yes, so a lot of people think that there's a dark side of the moon, but in fact there isn't. So the far side of the moon, which is the side of the moon that we don't see, is what people often consider the dark side of the moon. That is a picture of the far side right there. The first pictures of the far side of the moon were sent back in 1959 by the USSR's Luna 3 mission. And so that side of the moon receives just as much light as the side that we do see receives. The only time it actually is completely dark is when we see a full moon.
Okay, oh wow. So a lot of people probably didn't realize that we only see one side of the moon. Many people thought, oh, maybe it rotates around. And
Right, so we always see the same side of the moon, and that's because just like the Earth rotates on its axis as it orbits the sun, the moon is also rotating on an axis as it orbits the Earth. And so the cool thing is that it's in this cycle called tidal locking, where the time it takes for the moon to complete a full rotation on its axis is the same amount of time it takes for the moon to orbit the Earth. And so that's why we see the same side of the moon all year long.
Okay, all right, here's the first lesson for the day. Now the second one, this is something that I thought was true. Moss only grows on the north side, but you are telling us that this is not the case, right?
Right, so moss does grow on the north side of a tree, but it also grows on the other sides of trees as well. And so the reason why this myth came about is that moss is a special kind of plant called a bryophyte. And bryophytes don't have vascular tissue that transport water throughout the plant. And so they need to absorb all the moisture from their surroundings and transport it cell to cell throughout the plant. And so in the northern hemisphere, the south-facing side of the tree often receives more sunlight, and so it's going to be drier than the north side of the tree. And so since these plants need moisture, they often get the reputation of just growing on the north side of a tree where it might be moister. But there's so many other factors involved, like climate, what other vegetation is around, and so moss can really grow on any side of the tree, so it's not a good idea to use it as a compass if you're lost in the woods.
Okay, I wish I could have you on my team for Trivia Pursuit because you would probably know all the science questions, but this is really neat. And these are just a few of the things that you will share with us, whether we're out with you on a guided snowshoe or we come over to the Nature Center.
Exactly. Yeah, so there's so many different things that we can learn about nature. Things like porcupines don't shoot their quills, things like that. Another myth that people often believe is that if you touch a baby bird and put it back in its nest, the mother will reject it. And
I thought that too. I know, I was told that when I was little, so it's not the case.
That's not the case. While I do want to say it's not necessarily good to handle wildlife, most songbirds, which are the ones we see, don't have a good sense of smell, and so they won't notice.
All right, well, Laura, thanks so much for the eye-opening information here. So walkingmountains.org, so many great programs for kids. Their summer programs are up online, and adults, you can learn something also. We'll be right back. Hour number 3 is coming up next. We have weather, and we also have giveaways in the next hour.